Hi, Catherine. How are you doing? How is the lockdown? What are you doing with yourself?
Hi, Josephine. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm all right.
Okay, I'm also all right, working from home. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was checking up on your Twitter and I saw this long post that you put about how you saved the day. And I'm looking for people who are going out of their way. I think in this period we need to be as humane as possible. And I think that's an example of how we are supposed to be looking out for other people in this time. So I wanted to talk to you about that, just to run us through that scenario, what happened and what you did. Okay, let's start again. I think my
The
internet.
connection, is it yours or it's mine?
So okay, now you're off.
I'm off.
Yeah,
Eh,
I
You can't
can't
hear me?
I can't see your video. Okay, now it's back. All right,
Okay,
try again.
sorry. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Hi, Catherine. How are you doing? How is the lockdown? Are you working from home? What are you doing with yourself?
Hi, Josephine. I'm fine. Yes, I'm working from home since the lockdown. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw a post that you put up about something that you did for your neighbor. And I think that in these times, this is something that we need, everybody looking out for everybody. So I just wanted for the people who are not on Twitter or who don't follow you to just talk to us about what happened and how you reacted in that situation.
I think a week ago, I think as I was jogging within just the area, one of our neighbors mentioned that, oh, okay, of course I had noticed that the wife is expecting. I wasn't aware when she's due, but he was like, with this lockdown, then I think they had allowed private vehicles to take 3 people. So he was like, my wife is due on 8th April, which is today, but I'm not sure how I would get to the, hospital. So I'm like, yeah, you have all the neighbors around here. I mean, any of us should be able to help you. So he's like, okay, that's good to know. Will you be around? And I'm like, yeah, if I'm around or anyone else will be able to take you. Um, so I was waiting for actually today. Now on Saturday, I think like at 9 p.m., I was actually doing some work on the laptop, some office work. Then he called me. He's like, "Oh, are you there?" And I'm like, "Hey, Steven, what is the problem?" Then he's like, my wife has started bleeding. And I'm like, "Oh." So he's like, but I don't know what to do. I've been to the local council chairman who advised me that even without the sticker, I should be able to go. So that's what Steven was telling me. Then I'm like, okay, of course I was in shorts and everything. I'm like, okay, let me just put on like a t-shirt or something, and then we see what to do. So the first thing I did, I called the OC station of the area, and he's like, with the nature of work you do and the fact that it's an emergency, you could sail through. But then I remembered that at the work, they had cautioned us not to just move out anyhow.
Yeah.
So I called our security officer. I explained to him, and he's like, okay, take, the expectant mother and just carry your office ID with you. And that's what I did. Then I go to so I called Steven back and I'm like, okay, I've been allowed to drive out. So are you ready? He's like, no, the suitcases were already packed. Oh my God. Like for him, it was a breakthrough. So he told me, oh, we are ready. So I went and then
How long did this take from the first call, then you making all of these calls to the local council and then to your security guys at work, just to be able to get that permission?
I think let's say it took me 5 minutes, even before I changed, because I changed into something, more appropriate to go out. I first made the call. When I called the OC station of the area, he told me what to do. And then as I was trying to dress up, I'm like, okay, let me call our security officer to get guidance. Now, within that period, like 5 minutes before I drove out, and then, drove up to the residence of my neighbor.
Okay. So you get to his residence, he's ready. And
He's ready.
this is when they've said you can't drive out. So initially, when you planned to take the wife to the hospital, when he asked, it was when they were still allowing people to move with their cars,
Three
right?
people, yeah, 3 people in a private vehicle. So I'm like, no, any of us can take you. That's fine. Now, I think he was worried now that even the private vehicles are not moving anymore. How quick can he access, the permit or get the letter from the RIDC? Yeah, that was his worry at that time.
All right. So you started driving out with his wife and him in the car?
Yes, him in the car. Of course, now the challenge was that you would really see that the lady was in pain, and you would see that the stomach is really, it was too big, very visible. So we said, anyway, you'll be our ticket. I drove, got to the first checkpoint. I explained to them, and they would see even the way she sat, because I made sure that I kind of draw the car back, just the seat, just to see that she's comfortable, and just to hoping that we get to the hospital in time. So I get to the first checkpoint, or the stopover. I explained to them. They're like, but where is the sticker? And I'm like, I don't have a sticker. She's my neighbor, and she's bleeding, and this is the condition. So they said, okay, proceed. Then I get to the second checkpoint. Now the first checkpoint only had police officers. So I go to the second checkpoint. It had LDUs, it had police, it had military. Actually, on the second checkpoint, it's the military guy that came out. The police were like, at the back. So the military guy came. He's like, oh, where is the sticker? The same explanation. And then he's like, okay, do you have any documents on you? So I showed him my office identity card. And then he's like, so where are you going? We are going to Kawempe Hospital, so we proceed. So we went through the same, explanations through all the checkpoints until we got to Kawempe. But I must say that sorry?
How many checkpoints did you go through?
I went through 7 checkpoints, and all of them had, I think, apart from the first one that only had police, but the subsequent ones, it was police, sometimes with LDUs, but the military was there. And even in places where you wouldn't expect, because like when I passed through Clock Tower, I didn't expect, but I found a huge, team station there, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I have to do some more explaining. But interestingly, they were understanding. Then I passed through post office. Somehow on every critical point of the road, there was a checkpoint.
Okay, so you get to the hospital, you drop them there, and you come back home.
I got to the hospital. The gate man was asking us, oh, is this an emergency? And I'm like, yes, it is an emergency. Then they checked our temperatures with a thermometer, and then they also, asked us to wash our hands, and then they directed us to go to the area, the lift, where there's a lift for emergency cases. When we got there, there was a nurse just outside waiting. She asked us, and my neighbor's husband explained that, oh, she's having some bleeding. Then she told us to take her to level 4.
Okay. Is she okay?
So I waited around. Yeah, I waited around just to see what happens. And now along the way, my neighbor had called one of the midwives. I think he had a contact. So he was telling, oh, my wife has started bleeding. She was supposed to come to the hospital on 8th. And then the midwife said, okay, I'm not on duty, but let me call somebody else. So that the moment you get to the hospital, you're attended to, that very moment. So at the hospital, really the nurse that was out to receive us, and I think the nurse was there to receive any emergency case that was there. She wasn't standing waiting for us, but we found her there.
At about what time was all of this happening?
Now, I think that was like, because we left here like 10 minutes past 9, and then maybe got there by around 9:35, because there was no traffic actually on the road. You would literally count the cars that are that are moving. I
Right.
think from when I was going, I literally found maybe about 5 cars,
Okay.
and most of them were like cargo or these trucks carrying stuff. It
Mhm.
wasn't easy to find the mini or small vehicles. Yeah.
All right. So you say she's fine. Your neighbor's wife is all right?
Yeah, my neighbor's wife is fine. So I traveled back from the hospital. I left when they were going into theater, but I kept in touch with the husband just to check, is everything okay? And then he's like, yeah, everything is okay. The baby is fine, and my wife is fine. They were able to attend to her, the moment you left. So I'm like, okay, pass through the same checkpoints I used when I was going to the hospital.
All right. So we're
And
gonna
my
just drop back because the internet became unstable at a point, and mine still is. Okay. So let's start from then. You're leaving the hospital and you're driving back home. What was that like without your?
so I left the Yeah, so I left the hospital, and actually just near the hospital, that's where the Kawempe police station is. There is also, a checkpoint. So I explained to them that, no, I've just dropped a patient here, so now I'm going back home. That was easy. Now I was worried, with the other checkpoints, but in
Right.
my heart, I was like, okay, I must go through the same checkpoints I went through. And my sixth sense was telling me, since there were hardly any vehicles on the road, they will at least remember this particular vehicle, or at least they will remember me anyway if I, explain to them. And I drove through the second checkpoint in Wandegea, and they're like, oh, of course, one of them teased me. Oh, you mean you're the one who has just passed here to, with a very big, like expectant woman, because the tummy was really very visible. And I'm like, yeah, thank you that you recall and remember either myself, my face, or the car. So I went through the same, explaining, oh, I've just passed here, and it was easy actually. I sailed through much more than the time when I was heading out.
All right. Well, I thought it was important that we hear that the people that are still willing to help, even risking it, because a lot of people would have been afraid to start trying to drive out, especially at that time of the night in this particular period. So thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you, and I'm happy to say the baby is very fine, very beautiful girl. I just checked on her. They've returned because my neighbor had called me to see if I could pick them. Now, and I'm like, how do I leave wherever I am to
Yeah.
come and pick you? So I'm like, you know what, Stephen? I think the hospital has an ambulance. If you explain to them that you've been discharged, they will try and find a way to get you home. So yeah, the hospital availed an ambulance, and the mother and the baby are back home. They are safe. Yeah, I'm happy.
Well, good on you, Catherine. Thank you so much for what you did once again, and also for sharing the story with us.
Thank you, Jose, and I'm happy that I've shared my story with you.
All right. Stay safe and take care of yourself.
You too. Thank you.